Hello and welcome to a new series. This here is my Planet Coaster Park that I will be building. This first episode is just getting the entrance area built. This entrance area I based very much off the Thorpe Park entrance where you go over the bridge and into the dome. And this is what we're going to be building in this episode. The entranceway, the bridge, and then we're starting on the dome or the dome-like building. In there, we're going to have a Viking-themed restaurant, which I do start in this episode. And in the next episode, hopefully we'll move on to more coasters. Now, I haven't been uploading much recently. I have been extremely busy, but I should start uploading a lot more soon. I should also have a vlog coming out from Thorpe Park, if I remember to film one tomorrow, which hopefully I do. And by the time you see this, if I get this out on time, when you're watching this, I'll be at Thorpe Park. But enough out of the way. What's the main plan for this park? I don't want it to be huge. It's not going to be massive. It's going to be fairly small because I'm building on console edition. And that is limited to what size you can build. But other than that, it's going to be a great themed park. I want to more focus on it being really well themed rather than huge. This episode shouldn't be too long. It should be about 11 minutes-ish, which is the average length that I'm hoping for an episode. But if that doesn't happen, I'll have some longer episodes. I'll have some shorter ones. But let me know how long you're willing to watch an episode for. If 11 minutes is too long, I can speed up the time-lapse more and talk for less time. If you want it to be longer, I can make longer episodes. I can speed it up less. Let me know what you think in the comments. And while you're down there, why don't you subscribe and like the video? That'll be greatly appreciated. So, more about the plans for this park. I hope to have about 4 different themed lands. And I hope to have some huge coasters and some family coasters as well. But I mainly want to focus on the thrill coasters. So this is going to be my version of like a Thorpe Park. Fully thrills. And a couple of family coasters here and there. I do sort of want this to be realistic to a park that you would find in the UK. I may have a 300-foot coaster or I may not, because we don't see 300-foot coasters in the UK. So I want to stick the average height of a coaster to around 100 foot. But this dome is what we're focusing on today. This entranceway is what we're focusing on today. Now, in real time, this building, just to get that outer shell, took me about 15 minutes to build. And in total, this episode took around about 40 minutes to record. It was recorded in 2 different chunks, so there will be a split off in a minute where I go to the second chunk of the video, theming it on the inside. But I didn't want a short 5-minute video of me just building the interior of this, because that would be a little bit underwhelming and not many people would watch it. So I want you to see a little bit of the theming that I do inside. Next episode, we're going to take a break from the entranceway and we're going to focus more on our first coaster and our first themed land. Here, I'm just playing around with the roofs. I eventually decide against doing a roof, as I'll do at a later date once I decide what style roof I want. But you can just see me messing around here and exploring the different sort of options there is with a roof, which I always think is interesting to see what's going through my mind at the time. And of course, this entire way is going to be paths, and we're going to have 2 separate sections. One side is going to be a souvenir shop. One side is going to be a restaurant. And I start on the restaurant in this episode. It's going to be a Viking theme. And that Viking theme is going to stick sort of in that side. Which does mean that, yes, I will have a Viking themed land. And I'll probably have a Viking themed land at the side of this building, so you can sort of enter into the restaurant. I've not got much of a plan yet, but I know the Viking land is something that I want to do. And you can just see me here duplicating that wall because I'm too lazy to build a second one. Classic ThemeParkPierce there. But we have finished this outer shell of the building. and we are soon going to be cutting over to that second half where I'm theming it. But at the moment, I am just working on the pathway out of the building, which is going to lead you into that main park area itself. And here, we have now cut over to that second half. And I'm just filling this area here with pathways. So, while I'm doing that, I'm going to leave you with a little bit of music. As you can see, I did complete one side of the building and I am now moving on to the other side, doing the pathway on this side. After this, we'll be moving on to doing the Viking themed restaurant and starting that. In that part of the restaurant, I want to aim for that Viking feel, and I do build a separate wall and there will be a separate roof for the Viking themed restaurant to give that immersion. But that does not get built in this episode. I do want to take a break from this entranceway and start to build some coasters. And then in one episode, I'll do a really quick time lapse of me finishing the theming in this part of the entranceway. As the entranceway is always the most boring part of the Planet Coaster series. The best part is, of course, seeing the coaster being built. This eventually changes. I don't have that many restaurant counters in. I only put one in eventually. Because you can't connect that many tables to all of those restaurants. And I do here mess around with different types of benches. These benches eventually change to a different type of bench. And that is when I land on the Viking theme. At first, it was just going to be a generic themed restaurant. Here you can see now that I am placing in the Viking benches. And I'm just working out the placement of these. I did try and get them so they were lined up, and I decided I'm going to place them randomly over the restaurant, make it look a little more random and more like an actual restaurant, less uniformed. But it's still going to be an amazing restaurant, amazingly well themed, and hopefully it'll work. As you can see here, I'm just connecting up the tables, which I find out I cannot connect up tables to more than one restaurant. So I literally just put one restaurant in, connect up all the tables to that one, and then build a wall surrounding it. These Viking tables here is what made me decide on a Viking themed restaurant. So yeah, that is how I came to the decision of building a Viking themed restaurant. And as you can see here, I am now working on the wall that is going to surround the kitchen area. So it is more like a little hatch that you get your food from. I still hate those profit things that come on Planet Coaster. You just saw me crossing that off there. I'm now thinking, do I do like an arched sort of tower? And then I eventually then settle just for that classic wall look. The roof isn't going to be that high on this Viking themed restaurant. It's not going to be as high as the main dome, as I don't want the restaurant to feel overly spacious. I want it to feel quite cozy and sort of quite an intimate setting for a restaurant. But that's not to say it won't be roomy. It's just to say that I don't want the roof to feel ridiculously high. Because if you go into a restaurant and the roof's high, it can sometimes feel a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit too big. And I want this to feel more like a Viking tavern. Almost if you've ever been to Phantasialand, like the tavern restaurant in there. Very much intimate. And at some point, when I come back to theming this, I'm going to put wooden beams on the roof and everything. Make it look proper Viking-esque. And like a lovely little tavern. And we're actually now close to approaching the end of this video and the end of what I have been building. So yeah, if you're liking this series from the first episode, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your feedback. Let me know, what do you think should go in this park? Because very much it's my park, but I want feedback from everyone as well. What do you think should go in this park? How do you think this park should be shaped? Because I want this content to be interesting to watch. I don't want it just to be purely me putting all my input in. I want to hear your input. I want you to hear what sort of coasters you want. What other themed lands do you want? And also, what should I call this restaurant? Well, I have no idea what to call it yet. Something quite Viking, something medieval. And I'm interested, what can you come up with? What would suit this restaurant? I'm not sure at all on what name to call it. I was just placing these lamps down and I was thinking, what am I even going to call this restaurant? It wasn't even meant to be Viking themed at first, and I sort of just shaped it that way, and I think that's how the series will go. It'll sort of shape itself as we go along. And with that being said, we are now approaching the very end of this episode. So please like, subscribe and comment on the video. And hopefully the next video will be up in a few days. See you then. Goodbye.